morning. Welcome to Monday morning's Astrology Motivation. I know that I always say that I'm going to be on here at 9 and somehow something always comes up that I am not. So I apologize for the delay, but I do want to thank everybody who does participate and enjoy these videos. So usually I use these for a more, well, let's say it may sound a little bit different than the other astrology motivations at first, simply because it is a little bit more serious. Something that I take very seriously is under attack, or there are stereotypes about what I do, tarot card reading and astrology. And I read on a blog site about a week ago an article that asked, "Are chakras demonic?" And I was flabbergasted. Thank you for whoever just joined. I was flabbergasted. What's up? Because I didn't realize that people in the world still took these kind of stereotypes so seriously. So let's talk about them, where they come from, and how very, very, very inaccurate they are. No, spoiler alert, chakras, spirituality, astrology, and tarot are not demonic, at least in the way that the word is used now. Demonic is used to represent evil. It's been Hollywoodized. It is very exceptionally aligned with evil. What's up, Fifi? And it is unacceptable hate. Almost like a hate campaign against a series of beliefs that are outside mainstream traditional religion, which would be monotheistic religions, including all of Christianity, all kinds of Islam, all kinds of Judaism, all kinds all kinds of Jesus. There's quite a bit, but there you have it. It all fits under those categories of, basically, in my opinion, what's turned into, if you don't believe what we believe, you're evil. If you are in any way non-conformist, you're evil. Because the only way through any of those religions that you can access God is through a priest or a rabbi, that or some other holy person that is a gatekeeper to God, which in my opinion is very inaccurate and completely incorrect for what faith and connection to God is. To answer the unasked question, yes, most astrologers and tarot card readers that I know 100% believe in God, celebrate God, and are connected to God in every way, shape, or form. Like I said, Nicole, I don't want to keep reviewing this for the whole time, but I read this. I read a blog about it, and it was just last week, and it shocked me. It also shocks me that there are a lot of spammers that come on with Christian, with uber monotheistic, not necessarily Christian, but uber monotheistic perceptions in their life, which I respect. And, you know, most spiritual people that I know that work in astrology, since astrology is so steeped in history and has been around for so long, are extremely understanding of, and at least knowledgeable of, all kinds of religions and all kinds of ways to connect to God and celebrate faith and make yourself a better human and connect to your community. And so to be the ones that get like sideswiped and, I would say, bastardized and demonized is unacceptably harsh and ridiculously incorrect. So what is astrology? Astrology is the study of the self through its connection to the cosmos. That's what astrology is. It is very simple. It is very basic. And it is very much a constant reminder that we are always connected. It is a way that I've always found that helps me stay connected and realize that, realize that I'm closer to other people. We have more in common than I understood at first. Realize myself better and those aspects of myself that I can work on. It has always been a conduit for self-discovery as well as cosmos discovery, in that most early, you can't call them scientists, but explorers of the stars, people who tried to understand their world, used astrology on a regular basis. And it is unacceptable to me that all of a sudden that aspect, with the rise of scientism, which is sort of the religion that has built up around science. It's not science itself, because science itself is a method of inquiry into natural phenomenon. And it is exceptional, and I am constantly amazed at what science has done, at what technology has done. To pretend that science and technology have not been used for evil purposes is unacceptable, naive, and just plain and simple wrong. And so I am sure that astrology has been used for evil purposes, and I know that Catholicism has been used for evil purposes, and I know that Islam has been used for evil purposes. Essentially, evil comes from the individual. And what is evil? Well, evil is the intentional unbalance for the sake of greed. It is a malicious act of unbalancing what could easily be balanced for fear's sake, to hoard and accumulate far more than anybody would need, whether it's love, or whether it's using love or money or power as an excuse. It is greed based, and it's the intentional unbalance of a situation, a circumstance, or a state of being, in order to self-satisfy through fear and instantaneous gratification. And that happens a lot in our modern world, through the use of science, through the use of technology, and through the use of religion. And I am very sure that once upon a time, people who used to be with midwives, which is what witchcraft started out as. It didn't even used to be called witchcraft. And witchcraft is separate from astrology, and it's separate from tarot. But witchcraft didn't even used to be called witchcraft. Witchcraft really came up from different pagan religions. Witchcraft was created at the turn of the 20th century by some white guy in Great Britain who was fascinated with all these different pagan practices and concepts, as well as different mixtures that midwives for centuries had used in order to help and heal. And he just put together this religion called Wiccan. And whoever would like to follow it, and whoever who understands it, is welcome to it. But it is sort of a modern invention. The practices of pantheism, the practices of midwifery have been around for hundreds of thousands. Well, I wouldn't say hundreds of thousands, but definitely tens of thousands of years, since the beginning of mankind, because mankind always sought to understand its connection to its world, and different forms of pantheism arose in tribal systems. And then came monotheistic religions. And I thought it was really, even all the way into Greek and Roman culture, exceptional cultures, like early empires in India and such. They were not monotheistic religions. The concept of monotheism really came around when the concept of imperialism started to become something that people thought was a good idea, because monotheism serves imperialism. It serves the concept that one person, there's one ruling deity, what he says goes. There's nothing outside, and everything outside of it is evil. And you can see how that plays into an empirical kind of methodology for governing your people. So it really has nothing to do with what is more spiritual or what is healthier for societies. It's just what is healthier for draconian rule through an emperor, through basically combining a lot of different, or annihilating a lot of different cultures to overcome them with one, so that there is this sense of, I would say, very centralized government in all kinds of empires, which in my opinion is evil in and of itself. There's no such thing, there should never be one such thing as one ruler. Dictatorships in empires, they always are evil. There's never a time when they work to serve the greater good, because they really only work to serve themselves. And through history, empires have proven themselves to be failures. And I'm not going to get into a political discussion, but that was where the rise of monotheism came from. This concept of, well, if I want to rule everybody, I've got to prove that I'm like a god, and that there's only one God. Because if there's not only one God, how can I justify there being only one ruler, right? So that's kind of what happened, and all of a sudden everything outside of that, and the concept of people being able to connect with God through themselves without having to ask permission or make a donation or pay somebody or do a specific ritual, became frightening for people, became scary. And it became scary because that's what the empire would push. It would push fear in order to rule and control. And if it could get into the deepest parts of you, which is faith and your connection to God, and if it could disconnect you from God, it could basically put itself into the center of everything that you are and make you completely stuck on everything that it was and make you completely dependent on it, which was 100% the goal for all empires everywhere, all dictatorships everywhere, to basically replace God by saying it was upholding God, by saying it was protecting God, by saying it was God, or the closest to God that you could come on earth. And so that's where really the rise of monotheistic religions come from, through imperialistic greed. And that's how we start to now disassociate from anything that is natural to us, like our connection to nature, our connection to the cosmos, and our connection to each other, and gravitate more through fear toward, well, now I'm reliant on this structure and this strategy because it's the only thing that can keep my soul safe. And that's just a lie that was brainwashed into people, that to get them to basically be under control. And that's why this whole concept of astrology being evil, because astrology is for everybody. You know, astrology is for everybody. Astrology says it's the self. The cosmos is connected to the self, to the person. This idea that a human themselves could be that big and that grand is disruptive to monotheistic beliefs, imperial and dictatorship type of regimes. So you can't have people believing those things or connecting that way. So what you have to do is disconnect them in any way possible, and calling them evil and making their beliefs illegal is part of the reason. And this induces fear, and it's just about control. And 100% part of liberation is finding the God within yourself, realizing that you don't need anybody's permission to pray or to feel loved or connected to the alternate, hi Liz, or connected to the eternal and the almighty and the everything, right? Now let's go into tarot. Tarot is a tool, and it's never been anything more. I can show you any deck of tarot cards. You can see it's pretty hard paper, right? Usually glossy, but it comes in all different forms, all different kinds of oracle cards, styles, different shapes and sizes. This is one, but it's usually like cardstock paper. That's what it is, because it's cards, right? It's cards. And they have all different kinds of imagery on them. The classic tarot cards that we use, the Rider-Waite, even though tarot cards were, even though tarot cards basically, even your basic card deck of the hearts, diamonds, spades, and clovers, right, was based on tarot that people used to do, basically to channel their own energies and their own knowledge and their own wisdom to help figure the day-to-day life out, to help put their thoughts and their intuitive understandings into images that they could understand and that other people could understand. But ultimately, tarot is a tool. So there is no such thing as tarot being evil. There is only such thing as a person who holds it being evil. And so could it be used for evil? Of course it could. You know, a piece of rope could be used for evil. Most of the time it's extremely useful. A computer could be used for evil. Most of the time it's extremely useful. It is a tool, just like many, many different tools that we have now at our fingertips. There is nothing evil about a deck of cards, an inanimate object. There's nothing. The spirit is in the worker. It's not in the cards. The cards are assisting. They're helping us understand what intuitively we have connected to. There is no inherent evil about tarot at all. The only evil that comes from tarot is the evil that comes from an individual using tarot, which hopefully is rare, but ultimately does not make tarot itself evil, because there's evil in lots of different people, right? And like I said, everything has been used for evil because there's evil that arises in all different kinds of people for all different kinds of reasons. So it really is just a tool that intuitive people use. And yeah, that means that you have to be careful with who you go to. Are these people aligned in light? Are they aligned in connection? Are they aligned in truth? Or are they aligned in desperation? Are they aligned in fear? Are they aligned in harming other people? It's what you're attracted to. And I mean, there are lots of different readers on YouTube now that you can tell they're very, very different, and they have very, very different ways of using the cards. I think most of them are ultimately good, but there are a few very low vibrational readers that really don't channel really great energy. But that's for you to decide. And honestly, what you're attracted to says a lot about who you are, not just about who the reader is. So ultimately, like attracts like. And that's kind of what it is. If you want to raise your vibration, then you have to raise it in yourself first, or you continue to attract people who are stuck in the same vibration. But ultimately, does that make tarot evil? No, it doesn't. And it doesn't make it dangerous. This is like I said, it's a card. It's a card. It's a series of cards. It cannot hurt you. It will never hurt you. There's nothing evil about it. I have one of my great friends, her son won't even let her grandchild touch her cards. Because he's already building this idea in his kid's mind that it's a bad thing. And it's so sad because that's your grandmother, that's the child's grandmother that you're now building this prejudice against, which is completely unacceptable. And B, it's just wrong. It's actually your fear. Why are you now but this is how fear is contagious, right? You're teaching your child to fear something because you fear it, not because it's inherently dangerous or wrong or bad, right? And maybe the family needs to have a bit of a discussion, because ultimately there is this, why would you be afraid of cards with pretty pictures on them? There's nothing bad about them. There's nothing bad about them. There's nothing bad about them. Some of them have more adult imagery than others, in which case I would not want my young child exposed to cards that have adult images on them either. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, that's just in terms of parenting for the correct age, not saying or teaching that these cards are evil. They are not. One of the most famous cases was Doreen Virtue, who made her living and millions upon millions of dollars in the spiritual community, making all kinds of workshops, making all kinds of tarot and oracle, especially angel decks. And then she denounced everything as evil. Ironically, I don't think she ever returned everybody's money. But ultimately, she sits now as a very, very wealthy woman with a very hypocritical, in my opinion, perspective. In which case, that's her choice and her life journey. Maybe it's something that she has to struggle through. Maybe it's an evil deep inside of herself that she couldn't figure out. And so she had to do what most people do, which is blame it on something external. And let's all pray that she can figure it out. But ultimately, just because somebody says something's evil doesn't mean it's true. You always have to watch the context, and you always have to watch the person who's saying it and what their MO is for saying it. And so I would always encourage you to sort of learn what's behind things as opposed to just what you're being told. We have this really horrible habit, especially today, where information comes at us, flies at us from every outlet, from every device, and it's so easy to pop up. I want you to know that as somebody who works in social media, the biggest conglomerates of social media, YouTube, Google, Bing, Safari, all kinds of these, whether they're platforms or servers or search engines, all of them are now aligned, and I would say this is true for the past 10 to 15 years, all of them are aligned to advertising now, which, yes, I would argue is the same, takes lots of money from Jesus. It's true. Religion asks for money all the time, and nobody says anything about it because they're afraid. Ultimately, it's because of fear. Many religions make you so afraid you will never question anything. And that should give you a red flag to begin with, because anything healthy and balanced encourages you to ask questions. Even in religious texts, I know this from being raised Christian, Jesus welcomed Thomas's questions about his resurrection. He never said, don't ask, shut up. The story goes that he welcomed him to touch the stigmata. He welcomed him to touch the wounds. He welcomed him to ask the questions, because through his questions, he knew faith would grow. That is a very beautiful thing, but it's a very undertold story in the Catholic canon, because it suggests that we should be free and open to ask questions. And really, empirical systems do not like you to ask questions. They like you to shut up and obey. So it is also how the religion or theology has been applied over the years, and the bastardization of religion for political purposes. And we all know that story, right? That is a common story, and that is evil, because it's intentionally lying and spreading fear in order to gain something that you couldn't have gained without that fear, right? Without forcing people to detach from the divine. You could not have gained that kind of control. But you're doing it intentionally. You're cutting people off from God in order to become their God so that you can control them. And that is Satan, 100%. I wouldn't say that that is the theology in and of itself, but that is certainly ways that it has been applied. We know this. It's been documented by historians and scientists throughout history. We know this has happened. So ultimately, let me get back to using tarot as tools. We have to accept that really the good and the evil and lies within all of us, and that we can use anything that we do for good or for evil. You can do that with coding. You can do that with biology. You can do that with Catholicism. You could do that with Judaism. You could do that with tarot. You could do that with fitness and health. I mean, you could do that with a lot of things, right? You could really do that with a lot of things. Really, just to gain something from people. You could cause fear in them, and then I'm telling you right now, fear is the ultimate sales tool. If you can get people afraid, you could sell them anything. Everybody says it's sex or sometimes it's comedy. No, the ultimate sales tool is fear. If you can make a human being afraid, you can sell them anything without any explanation whatsoever. And the sale that I'm talking about here, because it impacts me personally, is the sale of tarot and astrology and spirituality as evil. There's no such thing. There never has been. There never will be. What's more, demonic comes from a word that was traditionally, at least in terms of its Latin roots, connected to focus. You know, the thing that is a demon is the thing that you focus on the most. And so it was actually connected to your own power and your own sense of spirit. It also does then moved on, because words and etymology changes, right? And then it moved on to represent different entities or spirits, but they weren't necessarily evil. And then it moved on to, like I said, come imperialism, it moved on to just being evil. Being evil because it had to be evil, because in order to say that your focus could define your reality, says that you're just as powerful as that emperor over there. And nobody who wants to be an emperor wants to encourage that kind of thinking. So they want to discourage anything outside of what adds to their power, and that is, happy birthday, Doug Denny, creating a systemic fear in people. And so here we are in 2021 with people who are ignorant. I don't think they're evil. People who are ignorant still asking these ignorant questions, but no, I shouldn't say that. They're still maintaining these ignorant beliefs, but at least they're asking these very enlightened questions. Is it really demonic? Is it really evil? And the answer to the question is no, it is not. Not in any way, shape, or form. There is no innate and integral evil to anything that is astrology or tarot or spirituality. If evil is being done with it, then it's because it was evil inside the person who is attached to it or who is behind it. It has got nothing to do with the integrity of what it is. And I would argue that the integrity of astrology has stuck for millennia, because innately inside ourselves, even when people knew it was illegal to do, they knew something was true about being able to connect to the cosmos through the self. And they knew that there was something innately connected between us and the cosmos. They understood that innately, that no matter how much fear people tried to instill in us, there were people that understood this isn't something to fear. It makes me actually happy to be connected. This is actually a conduit to God, not an avenue away from God. And to have that avenue blocked is in itself very evil. So watch what people say and what people tell you about this topic, because it is very dangerous and it is very controlling. And if you ever have somebody telling you you're evil, just think for a second or ask them further what they associate evil with and why they think what you're associated with is evil. Now, if it is because you take without giving, then yes, that's evil, because that's imbalanced. Everything has a give and a take. Everything has a yin yang. Everything has a receiving or a generating in order to maintain balance, because balance is the ultimate good. And imbalance is the ultimate unhealthiness or bad. But evil is the malice. There's always malice in evil. Always, right? The world will come out of balance naturally, but the evil comes from malice. The intent to drive things to an imbalanced state in order to hoard resources, control, or other things for yourself, because you're so afraid you can't get through life unless everybody agrees with you Everybody thinks the same with you, and in most cases, unless everybody worships you. And that is a mental disorder. Many dictators, if we look back on their behavior, many conquerors and emperors had horrendous mental disorders like sociopathy and psychopathy, who they couldn't connect, and so they thought the world was better by disconnection, and we all experience our world. We all think that reality is defined by our experiences. We all assume that reality is our own experiences. And the really bright minds of our time have been able to use intellect and faith to step outside of their experiences and prove things, see things, and understand things outside of their own personal experiences. And that is truly the application of faith, whether you're applying it through science or religion. In fact, the greatest scientists on earth have had tremendous amounts of faith, and most of them believe in God. And that's because they are balanced individuals. Faith and intelligence is supposed to work together at all times. It's not supposed to be separate from one another. Okay? So that's just what I kind of wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about today. I wish I could see more of the comments, but I can't. How do I get the comments up? No, I don't know how to. I don't know. I can't see any of the comments. So anyway, I want to say thank you guys for joining. There's 27 of you on here today. Today is a very good day. Can be read like tarot. And I love that you're sharing your own wisdom and knowledge about this, talking openly, being able to have an intelligent conversation as opposed to one that's fear-based. Fear gets us nowhere. In fact, that's the intent. Anytime there's fear, it's meant to stop us. It's meant to make us stop and hold us somewhere. And even that can be used for healthy applications if you use that moment to take in information instead of cut yourself off from information. And then once you've integrated that information, be able to then move on. I always say fear is a stop sign. You don't set up a condo or your house or your homestead at that stop sign. You don't build at a stop sign. What you do is you pause and you take in information around you. What do you do at a stop sign? You look left, you look right, you look left again. You take in information and then you make a decision and proceed based on the intellect that new information has provided. So fear can actually be useful in a very small dose as a stop sign, but as nothing else. And too often we are overdosed on fear. And what that does is make us stuck and stop our journey, hold us back, cut us off, and make us sick. So anytime anybody is trying to induce fear in you, like they're looking to make you afraid, you better question that. I'm just saying, you better question that. You better question that, because that person is not in their right mind and they are not doing the right thing. Fear is the tool of the lazy dictator. Fear is the tool of the imperialist. Fear is the tool of the fearful. Fear is the tool of the fearful that have really no other better solution to anything except to control people by harming them and cutting them off from others, from God, from potential, from themselves. So be very, very careful if anything induces fear in you. You're going to want to really watch where that's coming from and maybe what the MO is, right? The motivation is. But ultimately, no. Chakras in particular are not demonic at all. They're different parts of you. They've got nothing to do with any external entity at all. They've got to do with helping you connect. First of all, stay balanced within yourself, stay healthy within yourself, and then connect to God, the higher powers, to just basically, like balance yourself out. Really, it's got nothing to do with any of that stuff. But of course, if it's not within these mainstream imperialistic, monotheistic beliefs, it's got to be evil. And you know what? A lot of Hindu religions and countries, Hindu Hindu heavy countries have been slaughtered by monotheistic imperialism. And I have to tell you that that's one of the ways that they justify stripping somebody of their culture and taking somebody's land is, well, but these people are evil and they have to be burned off the planet to begin with. I mean, that's been used against witches in Salem. That's been used against heretics, you know, during the Inquisitions. It's been used. It's been used during 9/11, right? And the attack on the World Trade Center and different kinds of terrorist attacks around the country. I have a right to kill you and take your life and take everything from you because you're evil. That's kind of hopefully at this point it's a very transparent way of saying, I hate you, I'm scared of you, and I need an excuse to do terrible things to you. And that's exactly what happened with a lot of Hindu beliefs. India still has a great culture, but it was decimated over centuries, attacked from a lot of different directions, and of course this is an ongoing attack of, attack Hinduism, attack Hindu beliefs. If you attack Hinduism and Hindu beliefs, because it's not a monotheistic religion, it's a religion that shows and celebrates different pieces of everybody through different gods. Well, then you must be evil, and I have a right to imperialize your country. I have a right to impoverish your people. I mean, come on. It's happy birthday, Doug Denny. It's fucking transparent is what I'm saying. It should be transparent to everybody. So no, Hinduism, chakras, other aspects of Hinduism, other aspects of spirituality are not evil in any capacity at all, unless somebody's using them to do evil. But no, they are not intrinsically evil. And I would argue that most of the time they are actually very peaceful, very loving, very community-based, very, very connection encouraging. So all of that is very balanced, which is very good and very healthy. So there's the answer to the question. Happy birthday, Michelle Sandegate. And I'm really grateful for all your chats. I encourage people who are watching this Astrology Motivation to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video. And I also encourage you to go over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot. That's where I post my 12 weekly zodiac messages for you. Also, you can subscribe over to Vimeo, which is the extended insights. And then come with me live every Monday through Friday. I go live on my Instagram feed, born_without_boundaries. I will not, don't you worry, Robbie. And I hope that you can come over there on Instagram to join the live chats, the daily tarot card readings over there with me. So thank you very, very much. And thank you for the chats. And I encourage anybody, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you. I encourage anybody who is watching this video to also read the comments, because I feel like there's been a lot of intelligence shared within the comments too. I'm not sure everybody is intelligent, is making intelligent comments, but I think most people on here are definitely contributing in a very balanced and positive way. So I encourage you to read what's in the comments, because you could get some more knowledge that you could then go and kind of expand and broaden your perspective through. Thank you. Have a very, very beautiful day, and I will see you on the Daily Tarot Card reading on Instagram coming up a little bit later today. Bye, guys.